This arrangement's called Run on the Tame Side, and it's the chords in Strums to Walk on the Wild Side from Lou Reed. So let's take a look at the form of the music first. Alright, so we're going to start off with an intro, and the intro is going to be this top line played 4 times. And what's going to happen is we're going to be jumping back up and doing what was the intro as an interlude later in the song. And so you see this intro and interludes, and that just means that for the intro, it's going to be played 4 times. You see that at the end of the line. And then for the interludes, it's actually only going to be playing twice. So we play the intro, playing that top line 4 times, and then we're on to verse number 1. And for verse number 1, what happens is it's 3 lines long, and just a symbol to be aware of is right here where you see this kind of symbol and a 2 above. That's a shorthand way of saying play the previous 2 measures. So we have this C chord going to an F chord, and then when you see that symbol right here, we're just playing those 2 measures again. All right, and then, but underneath that last measure of the verse, you see D, C after verse 1, 3, and 4. And the DC means go back to the very beginning of the song. So, and we're only going to do that after verse 1, 3, and 4. And we just finished verse 1, so that's what we want to do, is we want to jump back up to the beginning of the song, and now we're at that, what was the intro is now going to be the interlude, and we're going to do that top line twice as an interlude. Then we're on to verse number 2, and we play that exactly the same way as we did verse number 1, except underneath that last measure of that part, it says DC after verse 1, 3, and 4. Well, we're on verse 2 now, so we ignore that and we go on in the song. And at that point, what we're going to do is we're going to play a chorus part. And the chorus is going to be just this 1 line and repeat that a total of 4 times. Then it says, underneath that, it says D, C, first time only. That means we're on the very first time we've played the chorus. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. After we play this line 4 times, D, C, we're going to jump up to the very top. And now we're going to do an interlude again. All right, we're going to play that twice. Now we're on to verse number 3. So under under that last measure of the verse, it says D, C, after verse 1, 3, and 4. Well, we're on verse 3. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to now jump back up, do an interlude, and we're going to do another verse. We're on verse 4 now. All right? And so we're going to, again, DC after verse number 4. We're going to jump back up, do an interlude. We're going to go and do the 5th verse. All right, and since we're on the 5th verse, it's not verse 1, 3, or 4, so we're going to go on. And now we're going to go on to the chorus again, and we're going to play this line a total of 4 times again. But now we're not going to jump back up to the top, because this is now the 2nd time we've done the chorus, and so we only jump back up to the top after the 1st time. So what happens is the 2nd time, we go on to this chorus 2 extension. All right, we're on the 2nd chorus, and basically what happens is we do those C to that F chord 2 more times before going to the next line, which is an outro solo. And basically it's those 2 chords played a total of 6 times before we just end on a C chord. All right, here's the intro. All right, and so the chords that we have here, we have a C chord, a C add 9, which is just taking your pinky, putting it on the second string at the 3rd fret. Have an F chord, and then an F6 chord, which is just putting your pinky on the 2nd string at the 3rd fret. All right, and so this is mostly all just a 16th note strum. We just start off with an 8th note. So we have this, the basic rhythmic part of it is just we have a down, miss, and then the rest is all just down and up for those 16th notes. We also have, where you see the X's, some kind of percussive sounds, and it doesn't have to be full, you know, where you completely stop the strings. If you just kind of let the pressure off of, if I'm on this C chord and I kind of just let the pressure off that C chord, it's okay if I hear the 1st and the 3rd strings continue to ring open, or you can just slightly adjust your hand so that you do get those, mute out the 1st and 3rd strings, but it's really not that important to do that. Just realize that you're kind of lifting the pressure off your fingers at those points and getting a little bit more percussive sound. And also, where this C add 9 chord happens, where you put your pinky down, and where the F6 happens, where you're putting your pinky down, you can kind of vary that up. If I So I've just given you kind of one place where you can put it in, and just realize that you can kind of embellish the C chord and embellish the F chord by just adding your pinky on that D note, that 3rd fret of the 2nd string. All right, here's that first measure going kind of slow. All right, and then the second measure, same deal. And so what's going to happen is that we're going to play those 2 measures 4 times for the intro, and then we're going to be coming back to this later on, and we're going to be playing it 2 times when we do these interludes. So when we come back to this top line later in the song, we're only going to be playing that line twice. And then we're on to the verse. All right, here's the verse. All right, and so it's really the same strum that was going on for the intro, and what I did was stick with just a plain old C chord and just F without adding my pinky, but you most certainly could embellish the C and the F by adding your pinky on that 3rd fret of the 2nd string. All right, so, and then we also have where we go to a D minor chord. So in that second line, we go down, click, click. That's the basic strum. And again, you don't have to fully stop the strings. You can just let the pressure off your fingers, and it's okay if some strings ring open. We just get more of a percussive sound. Now, underneath the actually the last 2 measures you see this, because we have this, what I didn't explain is that we have this symbol which means to repeat the previous 2 measures. And so under the last 2 measures you see D, C after verse 1, 3, and 4. And DC means go back to the very beginning. So what's going to happen is we're going to play that interlude again. All right, so we just played through verse number 1. Now we're going to go back up. We're going to play the top line twice as an interlude. We're going to do verse number 2, and we're going to go on to the chorus. We're going to be coming back to this shortly, but after we play verse number 1, we go back and do the interlude, we do verse number 2, then we're on to the chorus. Now we're on to the chorus, and it's really like the intro. You can either add your pinky on that second string at the 3rd fret for some embellishment, or just stick with a basic C and F chords. Now, after playing those 2 measures 4 times for the chorus, it says D, C, first time only. Well, we're on the first time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump back to the top line, and we've got an interlude. Then we're going to go on to verse number 3. And then, remember, it said D, C after verse 1, 3, and 4. Well, now we're on verse number 3, so we're going to be jumping back up, doing the interlude again. Okay, now we're on verse number 4, D, C after verse number 4. So we're going to jump back up, do that interlude at the top one more time. Okay, and play on through. We're on verse number 5 here, and then we're going to go on to the chorus again. And since that said DC first time only, well, now we're on the second time through the chorus, and so now what's going to happen is we're going to go down to where it says chorus 2 extension. And all that means is that we're going to play those 2 measures 2 more times. And then we're on to a solo section, which is really just those 2 chords going back and forth. So those 2 measures, a total of 6 times before just ending on a C. And that's all there is to the song. All right, so what we've looked at so far in this is the chords that are in the studio version of Walk on the Wild Side, and now I want to talk about what Lou Reed commonly does live and the chords that he's using there. And it's really just in a different key, and so let's take a look at that. So instead of going back and forth between a C chord and an F chord, live what Lou Reed does is he goes between a D chord and a G chord. And so everything else is the same as far as what the strum is, but where before it was going from F or from C to F, now it's from D to G. All right, and then when it goes to that other section where before we went from C to D minor to F to D minor, for that section in this live chord version, it's going to go D, E minor, G, and E minor. And that's all that's different. You know, you just follow the same form. Form of the song is all the same as what we did before. It's just now we have some different chords because the live chord version is in a different key.